Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Membership means more with American Express Business Gold. Earn 4 times membership rewards points in your top 2 eligible spending categories every month, including eligible U.S. advertising purchases and select media, and U.S. purchases at restaurants, including takeout and delivery. What are you waiting for? Get the card that flexes with your spending every month. Terms and points cap apply. Learn more at americanexpress.com/business-gold. Amex Business Gold Card. Built for business by American Express.
This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
December 31st. It's a time of hope, wonder, change, and enlightenment. It's when bad times can come to an end and make way for new beginnings. It could also lead to hangovers, gut rot, and the impending doom of not actually knowing how you got to where you woke up the next day. So, will this movie give us a sugar-sweet high or a massive feeling of regret? Find out as Razzie Month continues in our quest to see if New Year's Eve is not that bad. Welcome one and all to It's Not That Bad, the podcast that looks for A grades in B movies and a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Hello to all of our listeners in Plymouth, New Hampshire and around the world. How you doing, guys? Okay, so Razzie Month continues. And this week, we're talking about a film that was nominated for a number of Razzies, but didn't win any of them because one film took them all. Every single one that year. Thankfully, we're not covering that film. We're covering New Year's Eve. And here to join me, my lovely wife, Carrie. Carrie, how are you doing?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing really. You were wondering what I was going to introduce you, weren't you?
Well, I wanted to reply and say Happy New Year. But
right?
It's like March.
It is March. We're a little behind the times. We forgot our calendar. What day is this year? Or what year is this day?
Clearly.
Exactly.
Right? We could, start a fresh new year.
Exactly.
Today.
So, in the grand tradition of, I guess, Love Actually, we're talking about New Year's Eve because this is one of those films that is one of those interconnected series of stories that happens to be set around a festive time of year. In this case, the turning of the calendar. So when I say to you that this film qualifies and heavily qualifies, are you a little shocked right off the bat?
You know what? I really enjoyed this movie, but it did feel like a Hallmark movie with a really big price tag, really big namers, and the story was just so incredibly predictable.
I mean, like every Hallmark film, so it's kind of in that same boat. I just wonder which film had the bigger cast of movies that we have covered. This film, which we're about to talk about, or movie 43, which we talked about in our very first year of podcasting on episode 43, because you have to think that the cast sizes are equal.
Definitely not. The amount of cameos in this movie were just off the hook.
And you're telling me
so many.
Movie 43 didn't have a ton of cameos as well. I mean, admittedly, this is a much better film than movie 43.
Well, it's easier to say who wasn't in this movie.
Honestly, we're going to get to that in a little bit. Because, yeah, there are some namers that at one point were connected to the film, but eventually were not. But before we dive into this continuation of Razzie's Month, it's time to take New Year's Eve in March and trailerize it.
Over the years, Hallmark has turned their attention away from every other holiday in an effort to annex Christmas from the calendar and make it their own. That leaves a number of unsuspecting holidays ripe for the plucking and pillaging. After successfully annihilating Valentine's Day, Gary Marshall is back to lay waste to the shiny ball letdown that is New Year's Eve, along with a cavalcade of Hollywood's finest. They'll break off into small splinter cells, each with their own lethal mission to conclude by midnight. It's a heartwarming tale that includes nearly broken hearts, nearly broken dreams, and a nearly broken shiny festive testicle that just needs a little coaxing to descend. Mission accomplished. No one is enjoying New Year's Eve. Rated PG-13. For please, Gary, don't ruin Easter.
What? You completely lost me on your trailerize.
How?
What was that about a testicle?
The New Year's Eve ball is the shiny festive testicle.
Oh.
That just needs to descend.
Okay. I'm like,
also,
the what?
The sentences over 3 years, 3.5 years to be precise, that I have had to say on this show, thanks to some of these films, I reiterate my apologies to the AI computer that is learning its language based on this show. If you ever wonder why Skynet's going to happen, we're sorry.
Well, you write them.
Well, I didn't say I was in the wrong. You know how broken I am. People who listen to the show know how broken I am. People who listen to the show are probably just as broken as us, too. So we're in good company.
It's becoming quite obvious how broken you are. With each and every show and shiny testicle.
Well, I was about to say. Like, you know what's bad when I have a thesaurus on one side of my keyboard and an anatomy book on the other side of my keyboard going, how am I going to describe this film today? Because that's kind of how it feels like some days.
Oh, my God.
All right, let's get into who is in this movie. The movie stars Halle Berry, Jessica Biel, John Bon Jovi, Abigail Breslin, Ludacris, Robert De Niro, Katherine Heigl, Sarah Jessica Parker, John Lithgow, Ashton Kutcher, Lea Michele, Hilary Swank, Sofia Vergara, Carla Gugino, Zac Efron, Josh Duhamel, Michelle Pfeiffer, and apparently any other actor that wasn't busy at the time. Surprisingly, there is actually an almost starring for this film because, this is a huge cast. Halle Berry was actually originally cast in the Katherine Heigl role, but she had to drop out according to IMDb, due to a custody battle. But then once that custody battle was actually done, they recast her into the role that she was in. In the role of Ingrid, as played by Michelle Pfeiffer in this film, Juliette Binoche was actually originally offered the role, but she turned it down. And Reese Witherspoon was also offered a role in this film, but had to turn it down as well. The movie is directed by Gary Marshall, who also directed, prior to this, Valentine's Day, same thing, and Mother's Day, same idea, different holiday.
There's a Mother's Day movie?
There is a Mother's Day movie.
All right. I need to catch up on that.
Well, don't worry. Don't you worry. There's plenty of time to pick this one up because it too qualifies for this show. The film had a budget of $56 million. Domestically, it only made $54 million, but worldwide made $142 million. When it was released on the December 9th, 2011 weekend, it debuted at number 1 with $13 million. The other major debuting film that weekend was The Sitter, debuted at $9.8 million in second place. There are some accolades for this film. Some good, some bad. At the 2012 BET Awards, Common was nominated for Best Actor for this and Hell on Wheels, but lost to Kevin Hart for Kevin Hart Laugh at My Pain. At the 2012 Teen Choice Awards, Lea Michele was nominated for Choice Movie Female Scene Stealer, but lost to Ashley Greene in the Twilight Saga Breaking Dawn Part 1. But then there are the other awards. At the 2012 Alliance of Women Film Journalists Awards, every actress in the movie won the EDA Special Mention Award for Actress Most in Need of a New Agent.
Harsh.
Right? At the 2012 Yoga Awards, Hilary Swank won for Worst Foreign Actress for this, Conviction, and The Resident. And the reason why we're talking about this film in the month of March, as opposed to on New Year's Eve, is because it was nominated for 5 Razzies. It was nominated for Worst Picture, Worst Ensemble, Worst Screenplay. Gary Marshall was nominated for Worst Director, and Sarah Jessica Parker was nominated for Worst Actress for this, and I don't know how she does it. However, lost every award. There's a reason. Every single Razzie Award that year was won by Jack and Jill starring Adam Sandler. It is the only film to ever be nominated for every award and sweep the Razzies.
We must cover it.
I knew you were going to say that. I knew. And it's funny because as I'm doing the research and I'm putting this down, I'm like, oh, this is a great stat. Oh, crap. I know what's going to happen the minute I say that. Carrie's going to sit there and say, we need to cover that film because it's Adam Sandler and apparently it's horrible. I'm in. And you say, I'm broken.
That's literally the criteria. That is literally the thought going through my head.
I think I just read the internal monologue script that was going through your brain as I was giving you all of this information.
You're inside my head.
Is that better for me or better for you or worse for you?
Horrifying.
Very horrifying.
I fear for you.
But the reason why we are here, not just because of Razzies Month, but it's because of the critics. Over Rotten Tomatoes, the popcorn meter sits at 45%. The tomatometer, 7.
Come on now.
7%.
7.
Over at Metacritic, the film has a Metascore of 22. At IMDb, it sits at 5.6 stars, giving it a 56% score. At Letterboxd, it's at 2.4 stars out of 5, giving it a 48% score. And at the movie database, it's at 59%, giving this film an aggregate of 39.5%. It should be noted that this film is the second lowest tomatometer of the late Gary Marshall's directing career. Exit to Eden, which stars Dana Delaney, Rosie O'Donnell, and Dan Aykroyd, is the only other film from his filmography as a director that has a lower score, sitting at a 5% tomatometer. But I want to compare apples to apples here. As mentioned before, there are 2 other films that Gary Marshall directed that are kind of in the same vein: Valentine's Day and Mother's Day. So to give you an idea of where this sits, by the way, Valentine's Day came first, this came second, Mother's Day came third. Valentine's Day sits at a popcorn meter of 47%, so very on par with this film, but a tomatometer of 18%. And Mother's Day sits at a popcorn meter of 44% with an 8% tomatometer.
Why is that? I don't understand. I mean, was it, kind of cliche and predictable? Yes. But it certainly wasn't.
What is it in Hollywood these days?
It wasn't a horrible movie. Okay, so was it like a personal hate on that the critics have? Because all of the movies that you mentioned, the 3, had the same patterning.
Yeah.
A very low critic score, yet respectable.
They are basically spiritual sequels to each other, kind of thing. It's basically like an anthology series, and each movie an anthology of stories in and of itself.
Every cup of Nespresso coffee is an invitation to transform your morning routine into a ritual you can treasure each and every day. Using the Virtuo Pup, a simple touch of the button freshly brews bold aromas and a rich, velvety crema layer for delicious cafe-quality coffee at home. Whether you enjoy your coffee hot or over ice, every sip, every morning is unforgettable. Nothing tastes like Nespresso coffee. Visit Nespresso.com or our app to explore our full range of easy-to-use machines and coffees not found anywhere else.
Since you're new to H&R Block, we'll look at your returns from the last 3 years for any money your last guy might have missed for free.
I could get money back from last year?
You could. We'll find any mistakes.
Could have really used that 2 years ago when I dated that mistake for 5 months.
Don't leave money on the table. Switch to H&R Block and get a free Second Look review. Second Look is included at no additional cost with the purchase of tax preparation. Results vary. All tax situations are different. Fees apply if you have us file an amended return.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
But let's get to the breakdown of this film. Now, because of the size of the cast, it would be nigh impossible to sit here and list off every single actor in this film and talk about them, because in some cases, you have namer actors that have like maybe 15 seconds, 30 seconds of screen time, but you're like, oh, hey, that's the person, right? So here's how we're going to do this. Each sub-story in this film has a title. So we're going to be breaking this down by sub-story, and then we'll talk about the overall film. Gonna start with one of the main stories of the film, titled Jensen and Laura's Story, mainly starring Katherine Heigl, John Bon Jovi, Sofia Vergara, and Russell Peters. Your thoughts on this part of the movie?
Oh my God. I freaking loved Bon Jovi in this movie. Like, you know what? He was just so good. I don't know why he didn't just keep his name. Like, why change it? Really? Does it have to be Jensen? Like,
you know what, though? I'm going to argue that one. And I say that because if they were to bring him in and he was just like Bon Jovi, like, let's be real here for a second. Yes, John Bon Jovi would very likely play New Year's Eve, and that's fine. John Bon Jovi is not going to sit there and play some little soiree beforehand and then go play New Year's. That's not going to happen. Yes, I recognize it's a record party kind of thing, but you know what? John Bon Jovi has been around long enough, and he's actually been in a few movies. One of his first being Moonlight and Valentino. And of course, he was also had a very, very small, non-speaking, very quickly dead role in Young Guns 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, John Bon Jovi has been around the block a few times. And you know what? Let the man have a character to play. Let the man have some fun. Because I think one of the big things about this film is that this isn't a heavy lifting film. You know, no one's really being asked to come in here and provide utter gravitas. This is not a thespian display of pure excellence. No. Come on down, have some fun, play a little role in a big film, maybe get to meet some other people. It's kind of cool, right? Yeah, John Bon Jovi was fun in this. Katherine Heigl is Katherine Heigl. Like, you cast perfectly for this role. Although I wouldn't be surprised if this is the role that Reese Witherspoon maybe have been offered. Because I could see Reese Witherspoon and John Bon Jovi paired with each other on screen. Can we talk about Sofia Vergara for a second in this?
Sure.
Did she grate on your nerves a little bit?
I think that was the character, though. I mean, she was meant to be like kind of the annoying best friend or the absolute believer in love. You know, I don't
think she was looking for love.
she wanted to see, she wanted to see them together. And, she was totally trying to hit on Jensen the entire time. But
Okay, so you can't call her the best friend if she knows the Katherine Heigl's character was at one point in time engaged to Jensen, and then he went on tour kind of thing. And then she's like, way too happy and maybe want to see, he got some beautiful blue eyes, and like, oh my God, hose the woman down, will you?
I think, you know what, though? It was just the character. Like, it wasn't like she wasn't pawing after him. No. Definitely, I think, if he really is like the biggest star and he's the main entertainment act for the evening for New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, he clearly is, like
he's a deal.
Every woman is
he's an absolute deal, yeah.
Every woman's going to be, fawning over him, and she played it well.
But I guess it's the thing where it's like she's just so upfront about it to not just her friend, but her boss and the ex-fiance of the man in question. It just, I see where they're trying to write in some jokes and some humor, because it's a light film. This film is supposed to be a tonic. But I think after a while, some of the jokes got a little, And the thing is, I like Sofia Vergara as an actress. The script wasn't doing her any favors at all. But we've talked about Katherine Heigl on the show before, because of course, she was in One for the Money, based on the Janet Ivanovich books, which you love so much. And I know that for a stretch there was this stigma about Katherine Heigl. Like, she's delightful in this movie. It works. She works in the film.
Okay. Yes, she works. The relationship works. It all worked out in the end, of course, but I don't understand if her character started out that mad with Jensen, and rightfully so. Once she found out that she got the gig, the head chef, it was her company that was chosen, selected.
Catering this massive celebrity party for Ahern Records. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, but she was, because why? Because Jensen said that he wouldn't play unless she got the job?
Exactly, because he wanted a chance to be able to talk to her.
I know, but if she started mad, would that not wouldn't that throw gasoline on the flame? That's basically a huge slap in the face that she didn't get there on her merit. She got there on his recommendation.
But he didn't tell her that, though.
No, but once she found out, she should have been a lot more pissed. But at that point, she was already softening up.
Exactly.
And turning.
I think if she had found that out at the beginning of the film, the story wouldn't be in here, because it's not a story about love. So it played out okay. I don't see it as like some kind of like red flag monster. John Bon Jovi is a red flag monster. No. No, I don't think that. I think it's just one of those things where, and you have to remember going into these films that they are very Hallmarky. And this, of every story in this film, this is the one that feels the most Hallmark, right? You have a career-minded woman with not with enough time for love on her mind, but the guy who got away and is finally ready to settle down. Can the two of them meet in the middle and find happiness? Find out on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, I don't think this is the most Hallmark, but we'll
Fair.
get there.
Okay.
We'll get there.
Okay. Mother and Daughter, mainly starring Sarah Jessica Parker, Abigail Breslin, and Jake T. Austin. I really liked the mother-daughter dynamic between Sarah Jessica Parker and Abigail Breslin. Your thoughts on this angle?
Oh my God. Yeah. You know what? I think I loved the balance where she was trying so hard to be a friend to her teenage daughter, and yet she still couldn't step out of the overprotective mom role.
Yeah.
It was really like an interesting, and even though she knew she was chasing her daughter through the street of New York on New Year's Eve, like there was still that kind of like, I loved, I'm sure it was, I don't know, it was probably intended, but when her daughter invited her to actually go with her to the after party,
Yeah.
I loved that because it was like, you know what? Yeah, they do have the
relationship, right?
That relationship, that friendship
Yeah.
as well.
I mean, there was the line that Sarah Jessica Parker had, and by the way, spoilers like a mofo for this film, where she's like, and I fought for custody, right? But I'm glad it was just a throwaway line, and it wasn't like wielded like a guilt hammer, right? Just one of those things where she's a single mom trying to do the best for her and her daughter, and she's putting love on the side as well. So you have one girl trying to have that first kiss moment on New Year's Eve and trying to grow up, and she's the one telling her mom to live a little because she's not allowing herself to have fun and to be herself. This is a very good dynamic between the two. Maternity Ward, mainly starring Jessica Biel, Seth Meyers, Sarah Paulson, Till Schweiger, and Carla Gugino. This story basically is two couples who are about to have a baby, but there's a reward for the first baby of the year 2012 from that hospital. So your thoughts on this story?
Oh my God. I felt this was the most Hallmark, the most like, I mean, honestly, if this were a standalone movie, I think I would have passed on it. It was it was really the most predictable, although I have to admit, I really liked the little turnabout at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you've got two, families who have never met competing for the money and literally like I loved when they asked the doula to come in at midnight and arrange a C-section. Just why not? Let's do it at midnight on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, followed by the line of you're dangerously close to a rectal exam.
Yeah.
I'm you know what's funny? I'm glad you kind of characterized this film. Like, if this story was a film unto itself, you wouldn't watch it. And I don't disagree with you. I look at a lot of these stories as I think for the most part, each of these stories would fit well into a 20-minute show. Like, you wouldn't pull any of these stories longer than 22 minutes.
The biggest problem I had with this part of the movie, this chapter, if you will, is that neither of the couples seemed believable. Like,
I didn't mind Seth Meyers and Jessica Biel.
The dynamic between both of the couples is like, I don't know. I mean, I get, I can own that pregnant ladies, stereotypically, of course, can, get a little crazy or a little demanding.
I plead the fifth.
But so I've heard, I'm talking stereotypically.
I'm saying
right?
nothing.
I know. Lemon meringue pie at midnight. Enough said.
I have Baskin Robbins on speed dial. Go ahead.
You know what, though? I did not believe that. Clearly the women were very much almost in the power dynamic in both relationships. But you know what? The men just seemed, I don't know, bleh. They seemed like, yes, dear. Like, they had absolutely no personality. And the dynamic of the relationship of both of the couples, no, I'm getting mad here. Both of the couples did not seem.
Let me get my popcorn here. It's fascinating to watch this in reverse.
They weren't believable. Either one of the relationships. I couldn't believe that the men would be just so incredibly yes, dear, and have absolutely no personality. Boom.
Really?
Done.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Man.
You threatened to throw a Snickers bar at me last time I went off, so.
Well, you know, I was all right with my popcorn here, but no, apparently I got the kiddie show. I'm waiting for the NSFW show later.
You know my story about popcorn, though.
Yeah,
you best be sharing.
Yeah. In the eventual It's Not That Bad branded popcorn bucket that apparently we have to send over to Carson.
Right.
Okay, first things first. This storyline had two of my funniest moments in the film. First, you had the belly stare down between the two pregnant women. It's like, this is happening.
It's on.
It's on, right? Not staring down eyes. They're staring down bellies. And even you have to admit that the line, let the best vajayjay win, had you in stitches.
Fair.
Also, that guy is going right to HR afterwards on that one. Because if anyone says, let the best vajayjay win, security! Security! I mean, I loved Carla Gugino in this. I thoroughly enjoyed like the character that she brought, like this very new agey kind of almost hippie-esque kind of character. And I thought she was having a ton of fun with it.
I'm sure she was. You know what? It was just so predictable. Again, if this were a standalone movie, and it could very well have been, I would have passed, unless you probably would have had to make me watch it, you know, for it. It's not that bad. So
you make it sound like I torture you and strap you down Clockwork Orange styles and force you to watch these films. You were psyched for this film.
I am psyched for this film, and I loved this film, but I felt that this storyline was the weakest.
Weakest, yes, but dialogue funniest. I think you have to give it a little bit of credit there. And again, this is a film that does have some good fun moments, but it's one of those things where not all the lines are funny, and that happens. That happens. This one had good comedic moments in the script, but I can see where you're coming from as well. By the way, though, when you're talking about husbands having no say, if the pregnant woman, no matter what time of day or night, says, I want ice cream, and let me clarify, they don't ask for it in that calm a voice.
I'm feeling attacked.
It's more like, do I want some ice cream now? You get your ass in the car and you go get the ice cream.
No, that was the Krispy Kreme.
Yes.
Driving halfway across the city in rush hour. True story. Might have just happened.
Resolution tour.
Just happened. Like so years ago, but
right?
Might have happened.
Resolution tour, mainly starring John Lithgow, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Zac Efron. So this is the story of Ingrid, who decides to quit her job, but she has a list of resolutions that she wants to do. So she hires Zac Efron to help her complete the list before midnight. Your thoughts on this story?
I really enjoyed it. I think I don't know. I wanted a little more from it. Like I kind of almost felt like The Bucket List with Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman. Like I wanted, I don't know, maybe more of a sadder ending. I mean, it was happy. It was obviously...
You wanted a sadder ending in a Hallmarky film?
Yeah.
Should we just kill some puppies while we're at it?
Okay, you know what? Was I not in tears?
At one point. We'll get to that later.
Yeah, and I can't say what I said just yet, but
okay.
Stay tuned.
All right.
Stay tuned. It's coming.
Snickers bar coming.
I think I wanted this one to be more of a sad tale. Like maybe she had written the list of resolutions because, I don't know, maybe she was diagnosed with like a terminal illness or something. And
her terminal illness was that she was working for an uncaring boss in a lackluster job that didn't care about her. That's the terminal illness that she was suffering. She found the cure. She quit. Right? I mean, the whole I almost died today. No, sweetie, you stepped out in traffic and you almost got run over. That's New York. That's a day that ends in Y. But I understand, like, we don't know how much, we don't know much more else of Ingrid's backstory in this, which I think would have helped. I will say, though, I know initially that Juliette Binoche had turned down this role. I think the movie benefited from having Michelle Pfeiffer in this role. Michelle Pfeiffer has such an ability to provide not just, a vulnerable character, but she's funny as hell. Like, Michelle Pfeiffer is such a good multi-faceted actress. Ingrid was more than just this pitiful character, and I think it benefited from the casting change.
Yeah, I agree. I was literally watching it, and I'm like, are you sure that's not Susan Sarandon?
Oh my God, like, you're not wrong. We talked about this when we did the Ophelia movie, and there was the Daisy Head in the film, but she looked so much like Margaret Qualley, and I could not disconnect the two in my head because Daisy Head was giving a very Margaret Qualley-esque performance. Sometimes that happens, and yeah, Michelle Pfeiffer was very much channeling a Susan Sarandon-esque kind of character, which, let's be honest, if we're talking about Susan Sarandon, that's a damn compliment.
Oh, yeah, for sure. For sure.
Elevator, mainly starring Ashton Kutcher and Lea Michele, set almost entirely in an elevator. Your thoughts on this story?
I liked this one. I really, oh my God, so enjoyed. I mean, it was totally predictable, but I absolutely love how two incredible strangers, and one being so incredibly abrasive and like just unlikable.
So being Ashton Kutcher.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it. I absolutely loved this story.
I mean, I liked Lea Michele in this role. I thought she did well. I mean, she's a good singer. She was on Glee, so clearly you get a Glee cast member, you're going to have someone who can sing. This is the most unbelievable story in the whole damn thing. Hear me out on this. They're stuck on an elevator on New Year's Eve for 8 hours. After 8 hours, no one in the history of ever is getting romantic feelings in an elevator. Cannibalistic feelings, maybe.
Well, that frightens me.
I'm sorry. If we're stuck in an elevator for 8 hours with no food, eventually at some point you're going to look like a tasty snack.
Oh.
I promise not to eat you, but I'm going to get hangry at some point. And how are they not hangry at all after 8 hours in an elevator? The very first thing is, out of my way, Belushi, I need a burger.
No, she had to get to work. She had to,
Not without a freaking burger.
And how in New York traffic did she get from that building?
Okay, so maybe that's the most unbelievable part of this.
It really is. I mean, how do you get through the people traffic?
Well, I mean, let's be honest. If you're Lea Michele, you can just hold up your hand and a cab will come to you. You don't have to say anything.
There is no way she was running in those heels, that's for sure. And a cab is not getting anywhere near Times Square on New Year's Eve. That is the most unbelievable part of the movie.
But even if Lea Michele was able to get a cab, pajama pant Ashton Kutcher is not getting in a cab. Literally, people are going to be going by going, you look like you have no money at all. I am not taking that fare. Not going to happen.
They must have lived like 2 blocks from
close enough
Times
to be able
Square
to walk.
Yeah.
Which at that point, okay, maybe believable. But at this point, you have to think that everyone lives close to Times Square, which, no, I'm sorry. Pajama Pant Boy is not able to afford a loft apartment that close to Times Square.
You, however, are missing my absolute favorite part of this chapter.
The part where they do go cannibalistic?
No.
Okay. Not that kind of film.
The little old lady that like muscles the iron gate.
I would like you to put the
closes it.
quotation figures around the word muscles, because that word is doing a ton of heavy lifting.
And why would nobody help her? Everyone was just standing back and letting the poor sweet little old lady do all the work, the heavy lifting.
Yeah, that's the one thing where I'm like, Ashton Kutcher, you could help close the elevator if you would like to get off the elevator after 8 hours of being on the elevator. Although that being said, she also had one of the funnier. This movie does something that I love when movies do, is when they show bloopers at the end during the credits. The first time I remember seeing a film with bloopers in the credits was the Cannonball Run films. I love the Cannonball Run films. They're just so much fun. The credits are even funnier. It's one of those things where even if you didn't have a good time during the movie, you're going to have a good time during the credits. So make sure you stick around. A Hearn Party, mainly starring Josh Duhamel in his quest to get into New York from Connecticut to be able to give a speech and then try to get to this pizzeria to meet up with the girl from a year ago. As I'm watching this story, and we've watched this show many, many times, I was having instant flashbacks of the How I Met Your Mother episode with the slutty pumpkin, where he would go back up to the rooftop every year in the hopes that the slutty pumpkin would return.
Oh my God, I was thinking of that too.
Okay, so it's not just me then.
No, but I mean, totally unbelievable that he actually made it through New York traffic to his
RV.
destination twice.
Right?
To two different, he made it in well enough time to make his speech, and then from, I mean, everything must have been within a city block of each other. It had to have been.
Yeah.
Especially even just on foot getting through the people traffic in New York on New Year's Eve.
Because they said Connecticut, right? Like, I will admit that my American geography is not exactly up to snuff, but I'm pretty damn skippy. It's going to take you longer on New Year's freaking Eve to get from Connecticut to Manhattan. This after attending a wedding in the morning, apparently the wedding of Joey McIntyre, crashing your car, getting your car towed, getting a lift from the tow guy's brother who happens to be driving an RV to New York, surviving family time, someone else's family in the RV, telling this story of longing from this girl he met a year ago, and he's still holding on to the napkin and holy Hallmark. Time is an illusion, driving time doubly so. But I actually don't mind Duhamel in this role.
No, I enjoyed. I absolutely enjoyed this story, and I'm trying not to say too much because the end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Watch the movie, friends. Watch the movie. Don't let us tell you about all the good parts.
Yeah, I mean,
it's worth a watch.
Duhamel's character is he's not this total snobby, all business kind of character. He's the guy who's secretly pining for what his best friend has. He's a good guy. You want to see him. And yeah, it's a little Sleepless in Seattle-esque, the whole meet me here on midnight 1 year after kind of thing. Do people actually do that?
Well,
or is this just some kind of movie pipe dream?
I would hope so. I mean, doesn't it seem romantic?
Here's what I'm hoping. I am hoping that sometime in the past, one person did this and it led to some long-lasting marriage, and they wrote a book about it, and it became some kind of romantic kind of whatever, right? And then every movie that has copied that idea afterwards, I'm hoping that they pay that couple money.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
But nothing in Hollywood is an independent thought. It's all recycled from something else.
What you say? Are you saying there's no originality in Hollywood?
Not much, no.
Are you saying that everything is a recycled idea, and that if you've seen one film, you will eventually have seen them all?
I think so, yeah.
We've entered the Matrix, ladies and gentlemen.
Am I wrong?
Also, let's not enter the Matrix sequels. Okay. Hospital Stay, mainly starring Halle Berry and Robert De Niro. Bust out the box of Kleenex because this is where Carrie started to tear up. Your thoughts on this story?
Holy this kicked my ass. This story.
De Niro kicked my ass.
Oh my God. Okay. I mean, to see De Niro's a fantastic freaking actor.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really do much, and he didn't have to. All he had to do...
He got paid to lie around in bed for a couple of days.
Yeah, like ruffle up his hair, but I couldn't see him in that state. I was like, oh my God, like he's breaking my heart, and he's not even like... Really? I mean, obviously, he's playing
He didn't have to lift
a
finger. He didn't have to lift a finger to break you.
Oh, just absolutely tore my heart out of my chest.
I loved Halle Berry's turn in this.
Yes.
Like, just someone who is going to be there by his side. Like, De Niro has already basically told us all that, his character is, alone, basically. Not at the end, mind you. But we're not going to spoil everything, but he just wants to make it to New Year's Eve. And he asked to be in that hospital because it has the best view of the New Year's Eve ball dropping. He wants to go up to the roof to witness one last ball drop before dying. Like, he's literally in, like, palliative care at this point. Like, he has hours. All he wants to do is just make it to New Year's Eve. De Niro, in a very small amount of time, takes a really hallmarky film and rips your heart out. You will find yourself laughing in one moment, swooning in another, and then utterly bawling your eyes out. Thanks, De Niro.
Oh, yeah. Single-handedly, too. Like, holy... Okay. No, I can't.
No.
I can't.
Okay. Smaller cameos in this story were also Carrie Elways as the doctor initially treating him, and Alyssa Milano in about a 15-second role. So, I mean, like, you have very small cameos by very big names, but this is very much the Halle Berry, Robert De Niro show. This is also the segment that Common was in, because at one point Halle Berry dresses up so she can hop onto a webcam to talk to her husband, who's stationed over, I can only assume at that point is in Afghanistan, and, being able to spend New Year's Eve that way. The fact that he's like, okay, we have to, go out and be deployed. I'm like, there's one guy dying on the roof. What the hell's going to happen with this web call? This is the story that's going to kill the unicorn in the never-ending story.
Well, and that's why, again, I wanted more of a tragedy behind the bucket list of resolutions for Michelle Pfeiffer. I wanted more.
But then again, and hear me out on this, you have this heartbreaking yet still heartwarming kind of story with De Niro. But it's a tearjerker, as proven by you.
Mm-hmm.
How much more heart-wrenching do you want in a film that's supposed to be an end-of-the-year tonic?
Oh, I mean, apparently De Niro didn't fully rip out my heart. I wanted more.
Please, sir, can I have another?
I'm already crying.
I'm not depressed yet. Do better, De Niro.
Come on, Michelle Pfeiffer. End it now.
I haven't reached for the third drink yet, De Niro.
Crush my left ventricle. Like, come on.
Wow. You bug me about the shiny festive testicle, and you're like, rip out my heart and like chew off that ventricles.
Woo!
Welcome to our happy show, happy show, happy show. Times Square, mainly starring Hilary Swank, Ludacris, and the ever awesome Hector Elizondo as Gominsky. Your thoughts on this overarching storyline of the girl who's now running the ball drop?
Well, I don't know what I can say because what I want to say...
About 20 minutes ago, I said spoilers like a mofo. So they've been warned.
Oh my God.
All the people in Plymouth, New Hampshire, and around the world have been warned.
I did not see the main character's story arc going the way it did.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's safe to say.
Fair.
I was surprised, and I loved, you were talking about the post-credit scene.
Mm-hmm.
I love that they made absolutely like a joke about the meetup that I expected that didn't happen.
There is a scene, and this is where this movie kind of actually does very well. It needs to be applauded. The Josh Duhamel storyline just basically says that he's going to meet a girl at midnight outside this pizzeria. Hopefully. And the movie does a very good job of making you play the guessing game as to who it is. And at times you're like, well, it's going to be this girl. Oh, maybe it's going to be this girl. Maybe it's going to be this girl kind of thing. Maybe it's going to be someone completely different. Who knows? Maybe we'll never met them before. I'm glad that we had met them before, but it's one of those things where this movie toys with you a little bit.
Yes. And I love it. And I love, again, that clearly they were so self-aware that they were going to like throw a wrench that they played with the obvious choice. And I honestly thought that at midnight she was running to see him, but she was not.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
I found Hilary Swank was better when she got out of the Times Square storyline and into the other storyline that she shows up in. And that's how I'm going to put it, because that's when Hilary Swank really leans into her really good acting abilities and leaves you with a bit more of a tear.
Can I just say, you didn't mention Matthew Broderick, but I loved him.
Yeah, and again, a very small cameo, just one of those ones, and this is the one where he's in the cameo of. Like you have to watch this film with an eagle eye. Our friends over at the Deep Cuts podcast would love this film because you could literally, pull any name out of Hollywood and you're probably going to be right.
Look around. You can find cars like these on AutoTrader, like that car riding your tail. Or if you're tailgating right now, all those cars doubling as kitchens and living rooms are on AutoTrader too. Are you working out and listening to this ad at the same time? Well, multitasking pro, cars like the ones in the gym parking lot are for sale on AutoTrader. New cars, used cars, electric cars, maybe even flying cars. Okay, no flying cars, but as soon as they get invented, they'll be on AutoTrader. Just you wait. AutoTrader.
Whether it's a movie night or just midday, Skinny Pop is a salty snack that keeps on giving. Made with just 3 simple ingredients for an irresistibly delicious taste and a large serving size that lasts. Deliciously popped, perfectly salted. Skinny Pop, popular for a reason. Shop Skinny Pop now.
Hey guys, have you heard of Goldbelly? It's this amazing site where they ship the most iconic famous foods from restaurants across the country, anywhere, nationwide. I've never found a more perfect gift than food. They ship Chicago deep dish pizza, New York bagels, Maine lobster rolls, and even Ina Garten's famous cakes. So if you're looking for a gift for the food lover in your life, head to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code GIFT.
When I take a look at this movie, it's one of those things where you have to think about New Year's Eve as a whole. There are so many stories every year in Times Square. Every person there has a story. Every person there has a journey that may have lasted all year, may have lasted all day, may have lasted about 20 minutes to get to that point. And you have to think Valentine's Day, the movie, is probably going to be a lot like that. And I'm sure someday we're going to cover that as well. Maybe Mother's Day too. You never know, right? But, we're going to be here for a while for this podcast. So there's a bunch of movies I'm sure we're going to get around to eventually. Does this idea of concurring yet also mostly crossing storylines work for you as a movie style?
Absolutely. I love it because, as I was saying before, anything that keeps you guessing, anything where you think that you figured it out and you think, okay, totally predictable, when they can throw a curveball at you and go, oh, I didn't put that together, or I was expecting a different outcome. I love that.
I also ask, I know you, I've met you. One of your favorite movies of all time is Pulp Fiction, which is also another film with interweaving storylines and characters crossing over into different parts of the film. So I wonder if it's one of those things where your love of a film like Pulp Fiction allows you to be able to easily nestle into a multi-angled storyline movie like this.
You know what I love about it is that it's not linear.
It's linear-esque, but...
Well, not necessarily, because a lot of the time, if a movie starts at a point, and then almost like the movies that come full circle and they go right back to that one pivotal moment. I like that. I can totally get behind that. Any movie that keeps you paying attention because it doesn't just plot out the entire storyline in front of you. You have to kind of think, okay, why is this important? And then you come full circle to why that's important. I love that.
Of course, now you're in the age of Hallmark movies and lots of Hallmark movies, like tons of Hallmark movies, and even movies that aren't made by Hallmark but all come around at the same time. Do you see a future where other holidays are going to get these, for lack of a better term, schmaltzy, feel-good kind of family-friendly storyline type films?
I hope so, because I mean, how often have we both said life today needs more like 80s sitcom feel-good type series?
Okay, so since you put it that way, let me put it this way. Obviously, with this movie, you have multiple storylines. And you even yourself said that if any of these storylines were a movie unto itself, you probably wouldn't watch that movie because it wouldn't be a fully fleshed out film. Is there space in the streaming cinesphere for an annual series of holiday themed stories? Like, take New Year's Eve, for instance. 6 episodes per year. Is there room out there for something like this?
I think sometimes you just want it packaged into a nice little 2-hour, wrapped up with a bow. That's it. Like, you know what? The whole idea of the holiday movies, I mean, I have a list. Every Christmas, these are the movies that I have to watch. And I was actually thinking, watching this movie last night, I was like, you know what? I could see this being my go-to for New Year's Eve. You know, maybe it doesn't have to be like at midnight. I don't have to be watching this movie. But I mean, how many movies do I associate with certain things? When we travel, I want to watch The Terminal with Tom Hanks.
Which just goes to show how broken you are, but go on, continue.
Like, I can see myself gravitating towards, you know, a thematic movie to watch during the holidays. I can't say that, you know, every Easter I'm going to be watching, I don't know, like Peter Rabbit, but I don't see why not. You know, like I don't know. I think this movie was enjoyable, but you know, if you were to come back to it maybe once a year, sure. I can't see myself watching it, you know, in any given month, March. I mean, here we are. But
here we are making a mess of things. Go on. Yes.
Yeah. No, as far as the series though, I think it would be a bit drawn out. I think the 2 hours was enough time.
Not a long series, just like 6 20-minute episodes or even 3 or 4, right? Like a very small British length kind of Black Mirror kind of series drop every now and then. I mean, the other thing too is if you were to do that, odds are you're not getting, let's be very honest, the caliber of actors that you are getting in this film. You know, I joked a little bit during the trailer eyes, but I mean, you have Oscar winners and Oscar nominees in this cast alongside others as well. I think a lot of the draw of being a part of this film is the chance to work with Gary Marshall.
Here's my question though. Do you think this movie was so lowly rated by the critics because of the star power? Do you think it was maybe a hindrance? Whereas if this were a Hallmark movie, you know, produced, you know, made for television, okay, and didn't have the caliber of actors behind it, would you watch it just the same?
You know what? I think I would. But again, I'm also a cinephile, right? But I mean, even a movie like Love Actually, and let's be honest, Love Actually is kind of the template for these kind of things. Came out in 2003. And then, of course, you had Valentine's Day. I think that came out in 2007, which was like, hey, North America has like, you know, schmaltzy kind of holiday themed movies too. But even Love Actually, I'm going to ask you because you've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you think that sits on the tomatometer?
I know it doesn't qualify because I enjoy watching it, and I have kept saying, well, why don't we cover this one? And we can't. But I do still watch it. I can't say that it's my go-to, you know, every holiday season, but I admit that, you know, in the time span between Christmas and New Year's, I might have been guilty of watching it. That's another one that has the caliber of star power. I mean, come on. Alan Rickman. like
literally all you have to say is Alan Rickman,
but
right? But Hugh Grant, Laura Linney, Colin Firth, Bill Nighy. But I mean, a lot of that too is probably the chance to work with director Richard Curtis, right? Emma Thompson, Liam Neeson, Keira Knightley, Rowan Atkinson, Billy Bob Thornton, like Martin Freeman. Like you have such a fan freaking tastic cast list in this film. But that's kind of the template. Love Actually set the template. And then Valentine's Day, which maybe part of the reason is that these Gary Marshall films feel like a adapted for the North American audience homage, we'll put it nicely, to Love Actually. Like, hey, that was successful. Let's go do that some more. Because you yourself said there's nothing original in Hollywood. No, this type of movie is not original. It's not. We know it's not.
No, but again, I stand behind the point that I think it was lowly rated because of the caliber of actors and the expectation that the critics go into with it.
Well, there's also the weight of expectation for a film directed by Gary Marshall, right? So I can see where it's coming from. By the way, Gary Marshall, director of films like The Flamingo Kid, Beaches, Pretty Woman, Frankie and Johnny, The Other Sister, Runaway Bride, The Princess Diaries, and The Princess Diaries 2. Like, you have a decent body of work. You have a very well-respected director. You have a cast of Oscar winners and up-and-comers. You have everything on your plate, and you serve up a film that is fun, light, not deep, not weighty. It's a popcorn flick. Anyone going into this film, knowing what it is, right? Because Valentine's Day came first and Love Actually came before that. So you know what it is. This isn't like some brand new type of cinema making where it's going to blow your mind with its originality. No, it's not. You know exactly what you're getting going into the theater. That's a light time that you don't have to. You don't need to bring too many boxes of Kleenex. It's a one boxer. You don't need to prepare yourself with like an IV of the strongest alcohol possible to get through some of the scenes in it. It's a light holiday film. I can see the argument for a 50% or a 59%. Just still less than Love Actually. 7 is egregious. I take a look at this film, and even with the most critical eye, there is no way that you can sit there and say any story in this part, any story is 7% on its own. You can argue about the predictableness. You can argue about the schmaltzness. Not every film is going to be frickin' Oppenheimer or even Barbie. Sometimes you just want to sit back and watch people fall in love, find themselves, and maybe, just maybe have a little bit of fun along the way. All right, Carrie. We have a massive cast to pick from, and people behind the scenes as well, as we have done in the past. So the playing field is huge. Who is your MVP of New Year's Eve?
Oh, you know what? This is such a difficult task because all of the actors were so fantastic. Like, I don't think
Stalling.
There was an actor who I didn't enjoy in the part that they played.
Stalling.
I am stalling because you know what? I've been trapped in this damn elevator for 8 hours and I am going.
Do I look like a tasty snack to you?
With the absolute lovely and Hollywood of voice, Leah Michele just absolutely stole the show. And literally, at the end of the movie, she wound up rocking New Year's.
Yeah, singing
in
All
Times
Lang
Square.
Syne. Absolutely.
Yeah, love it.
I mean, I liked her in this. I felt her story didn't give her enough to be my MVP.
Okay.
So I'm going elsewhere in Times Square for my MVP. And I think it's one of those things where my choice was sold at the end of the movie with the most dance like no one's watching Michelle Pfeiffer as Ingrid. There was just something so equally likable and vulnerable about her Ingrid in this. And I hope that people look at that story and go, you know what? Make the most absolutely outrageous resolution list. You know, don't sit there and go like, oh, I'm gonna lose like X number of pounds, and I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm gonna try to stop. No. Throw caution to the wind.
You know what I had a problem with though, with that thing, like the entire concept is that was her list.
Yes.
She wrote out that list.
Yes, she did.
Why would she need anybody else in the world to help her, like, almost like translate her own list? Like,
try to Kirkland brand some of those things?
They like, Zac Efron's job was essentially to come up with
a way to do it.
How, each point would be achievable.
Imagine making a list. Imagine making a bucket list of things that you consider to be nigh impossible to achieve, right? And I think everyone listening to this show has those things in their hearts and their minds that just seem impossible to achieve.
But if you write it down, you are the creator. You are the visionary of that point.
But Ingrid is not strong enough of character in order to be able to go. Like, imagine someone who is shy and timid and afraid and literally on a whim just checked off number 1 off her bucket list, which was quit her job. You know, a task that at the time she herself probably felt was impossible because what else was she going to do? Right? So yeah, the fact that she had things like go to Bali, with how little she was probably making at that record company, I mean, there was no way she was going to go to Bali. So imagine being in this moment where you just left everything that you knew. Now you have no idea how to do anything. And here's this guy who she knows, who's very carefree and exciting and gets things done. If you don't know how to achieve something, you're going to want help from someone who you think can achieve that. So yeah, maybe she called in a ringer to help her do this. I don't hate that angle. You know, she, by quitting her job, stepped out into open air and sought a little help to land the plane. I liked it. And I liked Michelle Pfeiffer in that role.
I'm not disagreeing with that at all. It's just I really had a problem. My analytical brain had a problem to accept that someone would make a list and then absolutely have no clue how to see those points through.
See, you're attacking this, and I don't mean attacking, but you're coming at this point of view, I think, from the point of view of someone like yourself who is strong enough and willful enough that if you're going to write something down, you're going to do it. You're failing to take in the aspect of Ingrid's character that she's not that strong. She's not that free-willed. She's not that carefree and adventurous. Sometimes you need someone to hold your hand as you jump out of the plane.
I mean, I absolutely loved the creativity that they almost kind of, Zac Efron almost kind of like,
he's a life concierge.
He had to like translate a lot of them.
Yeah.
Like, the you know, feeling
take a taxi ride with in no traffic.
Yeah.
Get in the boat. Get the taxi boat, right? But I mean, like, the nice thing too about that storyline in this film is that this film also seems as much of a love story to New York as it is a love story to the idea of New Year's Eve. So they got to show off a little bit of New York at the same time. So, you know, couple of points for that story. All right, Carrie, thank you so much for this. And dear listeners, be sure to stay tuned for the rest of March because we have more Razzie winners and nominees coming up at the movies that we are going to be covering soon. But until that time, well, you guys know the drill. If there's a movie out there that you think is unfairly maligned or is so bad that there is no way in Times Square that we can find anything good to say about it, hit us up on social media at NotThatBadCast or go to our website at NotThatBadCast.com. And while you're there, make sure you check out our merch section. We got shirts, we got notebooks, we got coffee mugs. If you want to support the show, you know how to help us out. Well, until next time, she's Carrie, I'm Jay. You guys are awesome. This is It's Not That Bad, a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast Network. Take care.